Namaste. Thank you guys for being here today. I was a little lost this morning, disoriented because I left my keys in Rob's car and we took off to Nashville at the time that I needed to get to Franklin. So needless to say, Jen, thank you for being understanding, and Lynn, thank you for covering that first class. I'm happy to be here with you for this one. This is gentle restorative, and we will do a blend of both of those styles. But before we get into the practice, I wanted to share with you a little bit of information regarding the fifth chakra, because I'm doing a series based on the major energy centers of the body. When I was talking about this on Monday, I'm not going to be as detailed as I was Monday. Monday, I was pretty detailed about the chakra. And then usually on Wednesday, when I come back, I get a little bit more honed in on a particular focus. But these energy fields in the body are called chakras, which means wheels of life force energy. And Beth went with us to Sedona on the yoga retreat last week. And Sedona is known for energy vortexes. And I had not thought about it until this week, that really we could look at the chakras and their location as being like the energetic vortexes within. Really, that's what the vortexes are. They're the chakras of the earth. So it's where the energy is super abundant. We know with these energy centers, sometimes they can stagnate or get blocked. Sometimes they're balanced and sometimes they're imbalanced. You can even use a pendulum and hover over where the chakras are located. And if it just kind of stays there and jiggles a little bit, right, there's some sort of blockage or stagnation. If it spins clockwise, it's balanced. And if it goes counterclockwise, it's imbalanced. At Bell Rock, I mentioned this on Monday, one of the vortexes in Sedona, the juniper trees actually show a visible sign of the vortexes because the tree trunks and the branches twist. And I noticed at Bell Rock, they were twisting clockwise. I did notice one tree that was spinning counterclockwise around Boynton Canyon. So it was interesting to see how it was even showing up in the trees. Now, the fifth chakra is located here. It governs the throat, the neck, the thyroid, parathyroid glands. Think about this is where the windpipe exists. I've been talking about musical instruments that kind of tie in with these chakras. The first chakra, the base or the foundation of the body, about our physical identity or tribal roots, that's drumming. Think about drumming, be very tribal. And then the second chakra, the element is water. It moves up to our personal type of relationships, as well as our sexual identity and emotional identity. We moved up to the third chakra, which is our place of power, and it's the seat of the ego. It holds our personal strength and resilience. It gives us the drive to act, and the element is fire. We moved up to the heart chakra before I left last week, which is the place of integration, the place of harmony and balance. This is where the polarities come together. So anything below the fourth chakra, the first three, is more about our physical plane of existence and what is happening here on earth, or how we manifest things in our life. And then once we come up to the heart, this is our seat of the soul. This is where we start to create more emotional bonds with people, where therefore it's like our heartstrings. The instrument for the heart would be guitar and violin, any type of string instrument. When it's plucked, right, it tends to pluck at our hearts. So since we're moving up into the throat, recognize that musical instruments that are wind instruments, like the flute, we'll be listening to some of this music with the flute in it today, is good for the throat chakra. The color is aquamarine, or kind of this teal blue color. So I'm using this mat today for that purpose. It's about our communication. It's about our voice, whether or not we're speaking up for ourselves, whether or not we're speaking up for others that don't have a voice. It's our personal creative expression. It's listening for our truth, speaking our truth, and living from our truth. That's the main thing I want to say about the fifth chakra, to bring it and tie it in a little bit to one of the experiences from last week. So there was a day last week that we decided, I think it was the first day actually, we went to Bell Rock, one of the vortexes, and hiked around. And we decided, after getting so much of that fierce sun, we wanted to take a little refuge from the elements. And we decided to go to the Cross Chapel. The Cross Chapel is a place that you may have seen pictures of. It's this beautiful building, mainly stone and glass, that is actually in a vortex as well. And it's built within the red rocks of Sedona. Well, we were hoping to go there to meditate, but when we arrived there, we noticed it was actually pretty touristy. There were people coming and going. It was a very small chapel with benches. And even though you were supposed to be quiet there, it wasn't quiet. And because there was so much energy moving around with people and coming and going, it wasn't the best place to meditate. So, honestly, it wasn't even that air conditioned. We weren't getting very cool down either. So we decided after that to go ahead and head to the Buddhist stupa. And I'm really excited that I discovered this place when I was researching Sedona. Because in all my research of Sedona, the stupa had not come up. And I think I had just Googled, is there any monasteries around Sedona? And the stupa presented itself. And I discovered that it was in a place called Peace Park. It was actually on private property, but the people who owned the land had created this space for the public to enjoy. And so they had this gravel parking lot on their land. They had some trails. Prayer flags were everywhere. Prayer flags hanging in the trees and along the pathway. And I had also read there was not only a Buddhist stupa there and a Buddha statue, but if you continued up the trail, there was also one for Tara. And Tara is the goddess of compassion. And I often think about Tara when I think about the heart center, because the heart center is depicted green. And Tara, being the goddess of compassion, is often depicted with green. So we were excited to see both of those stupas there, and we were able to meditate there. And so the healing things that you can do for the throat. So say, for instance, if you've been traumatized by someone manipulating and lying to you, that's a trauma. If someone has been completely secretive about something and not told you the truth, that could potentially be a trauma. We don't think of it that way, but my first husband was adopted. And he knew he was adopted. He was told from the time he was little, he was an abandoned baby. So when it was time for us to get married, we needed a passport because we were heading overseas. We were going to Venice for our honeymoon. And his parents was doing the paperwork for the passport, which I thought was odd. And I said, why are they doing their paperwork for your passport? We're adults. Like, don't you have your birth certificate? Can't you do this? And he was like, well, remember I'm adopted and they do all the paperwork. I'm like, you didn't do it for your driver's license. You didn't do it to get out of college. He had never participated in any of this. And so I thought about it and I said, in your passport, it will say what city you're born in. And he hadn't thought about it. And he was like, oh my goodness, well, I know I was born in Alabama. I was like, how do you know that? And he says, I don't know. I just have a feeling because that's where my parents are from. Well, we got the passport and it clearly said North Carolina, which opened up a lot of questions for him. And he thought, well, that's one piece of the puzzle I didn't have before. So he decided to go beyond his parents to the state of North Carolina to see if he could find out who his, real mother was. We got the paperwork in the mail. Unfortunately, this was the beginning of the end of our marriage. He spiraled downward when he got this information. He got the paperwork in the mail, and it said North Carolina is a closed adoption state. We cannot give you the name of your parents, but we do have this information we'll give to you. She was 16 years old when she had you. She was living with her boyfriend, who was in the military and at one of the forts in North Carolina, and they both claimed to be alcoholics. And because they were alcoholics and so young and so poor, they decided they loved you enough to give you an opportunity to go with another family who could give you things that they didn't think that they could give you. And then at the very end, it said, mother has died from cirrhosis of the liver. So that was the only information he was given. But you can imagine being told for 30 some years, you're an abandoned baby, we don't know anything. And then all that being kept quiet and then doing all this paperwork away from him, that was traumatizing. That took him into a downward spiral. So lies, secretive nature, being too authoritarian over someone. Like if you're an authoritarian parent and you're never letting your child speak up or, kind of present their argument for something, you're suppressing their voice. Same thing with certain governments who silence people and that don't allow people to speak up. So this type of thing can be a trauma. Any excessive yelling or criticism could affect your throat chakra. So healing practices that help to create more balance here is being able to speak up for yourself, to be able to speak your truth, to be able to express yourself the way you want, to be able to practice sacred silence, to be able to sing and chant and to share your story and to journal. These are healing practices for the fifth chakra. So if you're dealing with any type of trauma from your past that you think may have created some sort of block, we're going to be doing some of these practices today. We're going to chant a little, and we're going to practice some meditation where we can go into silence. To bring it back to the Buddhist stupa though, when we walked up to the stupa, I was able to collect some of our group, not all of our group, because we had already split at that point. And I knew coming up to the stupa, and I had to read to remind myself, when you're at a stupa, you walk around it 3 times clockwise. It's just out of respect. Walk around 3 times clockwise as soon as you get there. I'm doing clockwise, but it may look counterclockwise to you right now. Clockwise in my direction. This way, I guess, would be clockwise to you. But you go clockwise around it 3 times. And then there's prayer wheels. And the prayer wheels are there, and they usually have an inscription in it. When you're at a Buddhist temple or at a stupa like this, you spin it clockwise and you repeat Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum is a mantra that means celebrate the jewel of the lotus, the spirit within your own heart. I'm sure there's other translations for that, but that's a general translation. But you chant that as you spin the prayer wheel. Then you can sit and meditate. We decided to go sit up. We found a little bit of shade. And when I walked up, a few of them were already sitting in meditation and they were listening to the Om chant. And then I gathered a few people and I thought we would listen to Om Mani Padme Hum. So I was playing Om Mani Padme Hum. And then after the mantras, we sat in silence and just meditated there. But it was a beautiful space. I highly recommend it if you ever go to Sedona to check out Peace Park and to check out the Buddha Stupa. There's a beautiful Buddha statue there. There's even a place, I don't know if you saw it, Beth, but there were a place in the shade trees where they had yoga mats. So if anybody felt compelled to do some yoga, the mats were available. They even had a medicine wheel, and the medicine wheel goes in 4 different directions. It points north, south, east, and west for the elements. And so the elements, the earth, the water, the fire, the air, each direction has a different one of those elements. Now, the fifth chakra, when we're moving up to it, the element is ether. Think about within ether, though, is sound and vibrations. Sound and vibrations and creativity and consciousness. Communication comes with that. So all of this stems from this energetic field in the body. So the primordial sound of creativity, according to the yogis, is Om. Om is the root word for Amen. Amen basically means so it is, and let it be so. It's kind of like, boom, putting your punctuation to whatever your prayer is. So I think that's all I want to say about that. Other than the spiral, we went to some Native American cliff dwellings and to some of their ceremonial grounds. The one that we went to on the way to the airport showed this wall with all of these engravings that the shaman had done. And it was almost like a target, a dot with all the circles around it. And then it had pictures of animals, it had pictures of crops. And when we were asking the guide questions, I was like, what is that? Because it's not a spiral, it's a target. He was like, I was hoping someone would ask that. When the sun shines, there were 4 different ones on that wall. 2 of them represented the spring and fall equinox, and 2 of them represented the summer and the winter solstice. And whenever those dates would come around for the equinox or the solstice, the light would shine directly onto those engravings. That's how they kept their calendar. That's how they kept up with how they would even plant, because there were lines coming down to where one of those were, and the way the light was shining on it at any given day would say, okay, this is the time to plant the potatoes. Now it's time to plant the squash. Now it's time to harvest, because they were agricultural and they needed a calendar to go by. It was fascinating. On the dark edge of the wall was the feminine side. And on the feminine side, it showed more feminine characteristics in what was their roles, such as birthing, and the spiral was there that represented the womb or creativity. So I just wanted to share that about the trip as well. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. When you come into your comfortable seat, sit up nice and tall and close the eyes. And imagine that you're creating a pose that's very similar to a mountain, with your head being its lofty peak, the arms being the slopes of the mountain, and the lap being the base of the mountain. The parts of your feet, legs, or your buttocks that touches down to the earth is the part of the mountain that's encrusted down into the soil below. Our physical body can connect us to the earth element. Things like our muscles and our bones. Imagine as your sits bones are rooting downward that there's actually roots growing down, seeping into the soil below, perhaps wrapping around a large rock or crystal. Imagine the underground streams you would drink from, bringing in the water element, or the rain that would fall from the heavens down to you below. Consider the fiery nature of the sun shining above, working as the fire element, bringing warmth and light and energy and heat. And the air that you're breathing, working like the wind. The wind that you often experience at the peak of a mountain. So take the reins of your breath, breathing in and breathing out through the nose. Increasing your air supply into your lungs so that you're oxygenating your bloodstream. And freely releasing the breath out when you feel compelled to exhale. Look at every in-breath as a way to feel yourself up, and every out-breath as a way to let go and to release something away. And we're going to use our practice to emphasize our throat center. Let's begin by lacing the hands gently behind the occiput, the base of the skull. Open your arms wide, and as you inhale, puff open your chest, lean your head back into your hands, and as you exhale, draw the navel in, collapse through your chest, bow your head, and close the elbows towards your temples. Inhale, expand, open, gazing upward, and as you exhale, contract the core and curl in. Inhale, lifting up, opening your heart and throat, and then exhale, release. Couple more. If you constrict the backside of your throat and make the audible sound with your breath, that's the Ujjayi pranayama, which is great for the throat. It can be very medicinal, even with laryngitis. Inhale, come up to the top, and slowly bring the fingertips together over the crown of your head. Splay the elbows wider, expand your chest. We're going to do one more pranayama technique. Take a deep inhale. Draw the navel in and up towards the heart. Retain the breath briefly. And now release and let it go. Beautiful sound of the breath. Inhale again. Draw the navel in and up. Trap the energy at the heart. And exhale, release. One more. This is seated mountain pose. Hold at the top. And now release it out. Affirming my thoughts and energy rise up to touch the sky. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. Exhale, spray the arms all the way around. We're going to transfer to hands and knees. When you come onto your hands and your knees, you're going to lower down to the forearms. So when you come down to the forearms, make sure the knees are not closing in under the belly. You want them stacked right under your hips so your thighs are perpendicular to the floor. We're going to do some cat-cows here with the emphasis in the neck and throat. So as you inhale, dip your belly and put the emphasis in your throat, lifting your chin, lifting the crown of your head. Good. Exhale, drop the tailbone, pull the navel upward, and bow your head inward. Good, continue. Inhale, cow tilt. Exhale, cat stretch. Continue the slow movement. One last time. Good, inhale, go ahead and restack onto hands and knees. Take a quick downward facing dog, curling the toes under, pressing up and back to this inverted V shape with your body. Angle the hips back away from your wrists. Let your head hang naturally between the arms so the neck is now neutral. Think about how small the neck is compared to the rest of the body. But this is a very important passageway between the mind and the heart.
a connecting gateway between the mind and the body. On your next in-breath, lengthen up through the vertebrae. And then exhale, let's land softly back to the knees. All right, we're going to spin around. Again, we're starting active, going to get passive. So you're going to lay down on your back. And you don't have to spin around if you may want to see what I'm doing. I'm just doing it for the camera's sake. So the knees are bent, the arms are going to start beside us, and then on the inhalation, we're going to press through the feet and let thighs hit abdomen, chest, the arms circle overhead alongside the ears, coming into bridge pose. And then as you exhale, you're going to roll down to the sacrum, picking up your feet and head, contracting and curling in, forehead to knees. And then inhale, land the soles of the feet, arms circle overhead as you lift thighs, hips, abdomen, chest. Creating that extra traction in the neck. Exhale, rolling down and contracting and curling in. This is our new flow. Do 3 more of those movements. Oh, we got this little cricket. Okay, if I scream, I'm sorry. Okay. Save the cricket. All right, let this be the last flow as you contract and curl in. And then land the feet and the head again. Reach the arms straight up towards the ceiling panel above your body. We're going to do a modified fish, keeping it sweet and gentle today. Slide your arms down alongside your ribs. Push down through your arms so that your shoulder blades start to cinch together and your upper back starts to levitate away from the floor. You're squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other, so you're opening the front door of the heart. You're popping open the center of your chest. With this action, as you power down through your arms and float the heart up, your throat will get a slight opening, nothing too dramatic. Take one more deep breath. Affirming here, my soul floats on waves of cosmic light. And then exhale, release the upper back. Good, hug your knees into your chest, into the wind release pose. No need to lift the head this time, just keep the neck relaxed. And then roll over to one side of your body. And we're gonna come up to stand. We're just gonna do a couple things standing and then we'll start to restore. So look down at your feet, solidify them down and soften your knees. You're gonna take your right hand, I'm not mirroring you guys, you're gonna take your right hand, slightly flex the wrist, and as you inhale, you're gonna circle the right arm up, and now look at your hand the whole time, so that you're turning from your neck, and as you exhale, you swoop it down and bring it back around. Inhale, the arm lifts up, crosses back, and exhale, swoops down and around. So you're keeping your gaze at your right hand. This is called Hasta Drishti. Feel free to make that breath audible to hear, so it's something to meditate on. And so the movement's following the breath and not as mechanical. One more. And then we'll swap to the second side. Soft knees, grounded feet, flex your left wrist. Inhale, circle the arms skyward. Exhale, take it down and around. We're opening up range of motion in the shoulder. We're getting the benefits of a twist. Let it be a moving meditation. Two more. It's up to your knees how low you dip towards the floor. You don't have to be as dramatic. And then inhale, come to chair, Utkatasana. So we're gonna do 3 audible sounds and 3 cleansing breaths. So it's like this, ha, 3 times, and then the audible breath. Okay, let's do the audible sound first. Ha, ha, ha. 3 cleansing breaths. Hold chair. All right, even just using our voice that way can build the confidence to use our voice. I used to do that in prenatal a lot because especially as new mothers, you need to know when to speak up for yourself during your birthing, during your time in the hospital. Hands to prayer. All right, we're gonna turn around, face the wall, and you're gonna do what's called a wall push, which is basically like a modified way to practice downward facing dog. Now you can do this on your, if you have a balcony or a deck at home, you can do this with your kitchen or bathroom counters. Don't feel like it has to be just in a yoga studio. Lengthen your arms, lengthen your spine. Hug the belly in, so you're supporting your low back. Ground the 4 corners of the feet and lift through your kneecaps. Let your quads contract as you stretch the back side of your legs. Three more breaths. One. And affirming to yourself mentally, calmness radiates within every cell and fiber of my being. On your next inhalation, go ahead and walk towards the wall. If you want to look my direction a moment, you can. What we're going to do is we're going to lift the right knee, not very high. And this is what we're going to start off with. Our right arm is up and our left hand is in front of the chest. Glue your right hip to the wall and power down through your left-legged foot. If this is too much for your body, be more gentle and just land your right foot to the floor. Okay, so you don't have to have the knee up. We're going to work around the clock. So slide your left hand up to 12. Now slide your right arm to 3, and now turn your face and see if you can gaze towards your right thumb without losing your connection to the wall with your hip. Reach up and down through your arms and fingertips. If that's too much for your neck, turn back to either to the brow or to your right cheek. Don't force. On your next in-breath, take the right arm back up to 12, and then exhale, lower the arms down. Lower the right foot, spin your body. This time grounding your right foot, lifting the left knee. Glue the left hip to the wall, zip up through your midriff, left arm reaches up, the right hand's out in front. Good, now slide your right arm up and your left hand back. If you have limitation in your neck, again, don't force the turn. Maybe only turn a quarter of the way. Monitor your body, monitor your breath. So the 5th chakra is called Vishuddha, and Vishuddha means purification. The breath is an ideal way to help to purify and clear out the mind. Inhale, left arm up. Exhale, release. All right, now we're going to get to restore. So your first restoration pose is to come down to the corner of the mat, to roll the legs up the wall for Viparita Karani. In this position, check in to see if you can get your buttocks flush to the wall. If that's too much for your hamstrings, you can back away. Flex your feet at first, so push up through your heels. Press up through the balls of the feet and splay the toes. And then relax the legs and the feet. I'm going to give you 2 different variations for your hands. Test the waters and see what's best. Try sliding your arms wide and resting your hands on your belly. With your elbows fanned out, it can help to solidify your upper back to the ground. And this can be very grounding where the hands are placed here at the belly. Allowing the belly to swell on the inhale and to deflate on the exhale. If you want to move more into your heart, try the cactus or goddess arms. Notice how that creates more length in your trunk and more buoyancy in your heart. Choose one or the other. Rest and breathe. This pose is excellent for our circulation, for reducing pain and varicose veins. It can be medicinal for insomnia and be a natural sedative for the mind. Consider how, if we're moving upstream through the ladder or chain of the chakras, we break free from gravity, away from the things that have always been, away from structure and restrictions of any manifested form. We move towards the subtle vibrations of the rhythmic pulsations that move through everything and everyone. Because our life force energy is a stream of pulsating energy, when we arrive to the throat center, to this place of purification, it creates vibrational refinement. And we have more resonance where the mind and the body feel more connected. As your mind starts to shift and calm down in this pose, participate with some inner deep listening. Perhaps sensing the traffic from the streets. Music from the stereo. perhaps any vibration in the wall or floor. Perhaps the subtle sound of your breath. Feeling or hearing your heartbeat, or any pulse or ringing in the ear. Stay within and see what else you can hear. I'd like you to walk your feet just a step or so down the wall so that your knees are bent. Press your feet into the wall to tuck and lift your hips off the floor and take your hands to hold your lower back. Once you have the elevation of your hips and you're holding yourself up, slowly straighten one leg at a time. Your legs are at an angle going up the wall. Your toes are pointed towards the wall. This is a modified, gentle way to do shoulder stand. shoulder stand can be fairly fierce with the legs completely over the body, but at this angle, it's not as alarming for the neck. So that you're still getting the traction, you're still getting the chin tuck. Take 3 deep breaths. Just think about everything moving down towards this passageway of throat. Rebend your knees, flatten the feet down the wall, and then slowly let the hands go so that you can roll down one vertebra at a time. Now turn over to one side of your body. And go ahead and come on. You're gonna scoot up towards the edge of your mat. And then you guys will be turning, scoot up towards the edge of your mat, Lynn, and then turn to face the front door with your feet off to the left. Other direction. Like that. Yeah. You can follow Lynn now on that side of the room. So we're kind of established on the right hip, legs off to the left. We're going to lift up energetically and spin to face the back of the mat. Walk the hands down it. Lower down to your belly, to your chest, and one cheek. Be left or right. Grab the arms so that you can submit all your weight down. We're not going to get to hold this one as long. Hold and count for 7 breaths. The twist helps to awaken the dormant creative energy at the base of the spine, to bring it up towards this creative place of self-expression in the neck and throat. When you've finished your 7, your hands will slide up underneath your shoulders. You'll give yourself a lift. And once you come up, you're just going to spin your body the other direction. You're elongating the spine before you turn. And then walk it out. Releasing to the belly, chest, and opposite cheek. Face planting down. Closing the eyes. Emphasizing your pranayama, your breath control. Breathing with depth and appreciation. For it's the wind of the breath that sustains our life. take 7 more. Leave your hands in. So, we're gonna do this posture. I'm gonna give you a choice actually, because there's 2 great ones we could end with. So the first one is this. Where the blanket's on the wood floor, your bolster is going the same direction of your mat, and your feet are on top of the blocks, and you're coming down to your head and your neck. Now, if you choose this one to exit out, you could either bend the knees and just roll over, or you could bend the knees, lift your hips, and push back, which is kind of playful and fun. If you want a deeper back bend or an open throat, so maybe just think about the condition of your neck. You could actually do this other one, which is turning the bolster sideways so that your head tilts over and you have an open throat like this. But your arms will be on the same side of the bolster as your head. So if you want a deeper back bend and open throat, the second one, if you want traction in the neck, but still an open heart, the first one, feet on the blocks, back on the bolster. And if you're confused, anyway, I'll come help you. Yeah. Now take the arms out like that. How does that feel? Back. So bend your hips. Just kind of shift back a little bit. So your shoulders. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Is that better? That's it. How's it feel? Ooh. Is it a little tight? It's all right. It looks good. Okay. Once you have found your position, rest your eyes. And maybe picture that beautiful color of the Mediterranean or Caribbean Sea. This is the color that represents this energy field. Practice some internal silence for Shavasana. Take 3. You're ready. Start to exit the pose you chose. Right, bending the knees. Rolling away or sliding back on the blanket, dependent on your position. You've been listening to this shamanic journey music that had some drums, and flutes. Now, I want you to find that slip of paper that I printed off for you. If you need another one, if it got lost somehow. So this is actually chanting the chakras, and since we're on the 5th one, I thought we could try this today. Om, which I'm sure you chanted in other classes before, is the sound for next week's chakra, the 6th. And the top one, the crown, is sacred silence. So it moves from the base of the spine, first chakra, to the 2nd, reproductive area, to the core, solar plexus, to the heart. The throat is hum, 3rd eye om, and then sacred silence. So it looks and sounds like this. Lam, bam, ram, yam, hom, om. Silence. Go through again. So I thought we could use our voices together, since singing and chanting are medicinal for the throat chakra. Let's do it 3 times, honoring the pause before we go into the next round. And then we'll sit in sacred silence. That sound good? All right, and you can read your slip of paper if you need to. Take a deep breath in first and begin. Lam, bam, ram, yam, om, om. Lam, bam, ram, yam, om, om. Lam, bam, ram, yam, om, om. Consider how important it is when you're in relationship with anyone. How there needs to be both talking and listening to create healthy communication. And this should also apply to our spiritual practices. Instead of always praying or asking or wanting or needing, can you just sit and be present and listen and receive? The next time you see the picture, the Buddha, let this be a reminder to sit, listen, sit.
hands now together to prayer position in your heart. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We all walk away from this practice being free and at peace from anything out of our control, anything imposed upon us by another, or by any internal stressors of our own. Om peace, peace. Thank you. Feel free to take this with you. The chanting, you can really feel it moving up as you're chanting it. And hopefully you felt the humming at the end that spills from your lips, and maybe even that tickle or vibration for the awakening heart. It's a great way. When you use mantra, it's an instrument of the mind to go beyond our normal, everyday, habitual negative thinking. Right? It kind of gets us out of our head and kind of locked into the mantra so that we are, in essence, quieting the mind, or at least redirecting our thoughts towards something more positive. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.